Hey guys, it's me, mom of two of one. I'm not sure why it's looking dark. Hold on, let me see if I can get a little more light skin. There we go. It's getting dark again. Regardless, I'll just keep talking. Hi guys, it's me, mom of two, wife of one, and you can tell by the title, I'm here to continue our discussion about Bridgerton. We are on episode 2 of the first part of season 3. It gets a little confusing kind of remembering that. So it's literally 3, 2, 1. Season 3, episode 2. No, it's not 3, 2, 1. Season 3, episode 2, part 1. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. But if you saw my last video, I kind of gave a synopsis of what Bridgerton is about, so I'm not going to go over that again. What I am going to do is sum up what happened this episode and just a couple of notes of things that I noticed or questions that I have or things that I need to clarify. So, before I get to all that, make sure you like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and also comment below with any questions, concerns, or anything that stood out from episode 2 for you. But let's get into it. So, the way I took my notes is I kind of divvied up by characters. One thing I do enjoy about the Bridgerton series and the Bridgerton world is that even though this season is focused primarily on Colin and Penelope, we still get to see all the other characters having their own moments without these main characters who are the leads right now. We get to see time with the Queen and Lady Danbury. We get to see Mama Bridgerton with Francesca, who's now out on the market. We get to see the Featheringtons themselves having some time. So I enjoy those moments because all of the characters, I'm invested in all of them now. So I love seeing them thrive. I like seeing them get in trouble. I just like being updated on what's happening in their lives. So we'll start with Queen Charlotte. At this point, when the episode first starts, she still hasn't picked the diamond of the season, and all the mamas of the ton are extremely concerned. And basically, the diamond of the season is the one woman who is the best match or who is the best debutante. And the person who's the best debutante, the queen finds favor with and normally tries to hook her up with the guy who's like the best possible match. Basically, so she can have bragging rights. It's really all it's for. She don't really care about these people like that. I'm pretty sure she doesn't. So at the ball, in almost every episode, we got a ball. So at the ball, Lady Danbury, who knows that Queen Charlotte hasn't picked a diamond yet, she has set her sights on helping Francesca because she and Mama Bridgerton, aka Violet, are very good friends. So she tells the Queen, "Oh, Queen, before you leave, you should come and see this beautiful painting." So instead of a painting, when she goes into this room, is Francesca, who is playing a piano piece. Francesca's a really interesting character. For those of you, again, who have not watched the show, the character of Francesca has been in the first 2 seasons, but it was played by a different actress. And she really didn't have a lot of lines because her story arc is that she was sent away during the season before she came out. She was sent away to her aunt's house to learn how to play the piano specifically. So now this is her season to officially be out. She's able to play the piano beautifully, and pretty much that's all she wants to do. She understands the idea of getting married, so she's looking forward to it, but she's not thinking about love. She's not thinking about butterflies in her stomach. Just like, oh, being married would be cool. And that's pretty much it. She knows is what she has to do, so she's not fighting that, but she doesn't seem overly excited about it either. And I haven't quite pinpointed her personality as of yet. Regardless, the queen comes in and sees her playing the piano. It's like, oh my gosh, I love the fact that you're playing this to impress yourself and no one else. You basically, she says that she's the diamond because she's so impressed with the fact that she's not bending over backwards like all the other girls to impress the queen and to show off their talents and all this stuff. Francesca's in her own world and just playing the piano because it's something that she loves to do. So the queen is impressed with her. That's pretty much all that happened with Queen Charlotte. But I do have a note about her later, but that's pretty much all that happened in this episode. But the Featheringtons, the whole ton is very much a patriarchal system. Every household is essentially run by a man, but the Featherington household is extremely unique where it's a mother and her 3 daughters. There's no man inside. Her husband died in the first season. Second season, they had a long lost cousin that came along who was a swindler. And so now they have this money, which is great, but a guy from who represents the crown came in the first season to talk to Mrs. Featherington and basically was like, look, we got to keep this thing going. We got to have, a man run this household. So you got to figure something out. She's like, okay, my daughters are working on, they're both married. As soon as one of them births an heir, has a son, that son will be Lord Featherington. Until then, everyone in the household, well, at least actually, not even everyone in the household, the mother has the title of Lady Featherington. Penelope is Miss Featherington. And there are 2 sisters because they're married. Their last name has changed. I don't really know what their last names are just yet. But basically, each household has to have a lord something, a lord, a viscount, a baron, an earl, but it has to be a man who's running the household. So Mama Featherington, this whole episode is really getting on her daughters to make sure that they procreate, that they're having as much sex as possible. The son-in-laws are enamored with their wives, but they're not very, what is the word I'm looking for? They don't seem to really have a mind of their own. Neither of them have a title. They just happen to be married, happen to be with these women. They're definitely terrified of their mother-in-law. They're just like, I mean, we're here. I don't know what you want us to do. So the mama, she's basically trying to get them all together, get, the girls to continue to, you need to bed your husbands, and I shouldn't have to tell you to do this. Like, this is what we do. And then having a conversation, she finds out that one of them doesn't enjoy having sex. She's like, it flattens my hair. I don't really like it. So they've only done it like once or twice. And then the other one, she thought she's been having sex this whole time, but really she and her husband have just been dry humping. More of that later, because I'm going to talk in detail about sex and women in this series. And probably not just in this series, but probably, this is how it was during that time period. And that's all that really happened. But the Featheringtons, oh, the mother did scold Penelope because, as we learned last episode, Colin made a deal with Penelope that he is going to basically hold classes for her to teach her how to be charming so that she can land a husband. The mother finds this out. I'll explain how in a minute. She finds this out, and in this society, it is it's not just a friend helping a friend, because Colin is such an eligible person helping Penelope out. It gives the impression of desperation on Penelope's part. So everyone's gossiping about it. Doesn't look favorably on her or on her family, unfortunately, because again, in this day and time, if one member of the family does something that is embarrassing, that is untoward, that is whatever, it reflects not just on them, but the entire family. Your entire family could possibly be shunned because of what one person has done. It's really crazy. And the mother basically tells her that she calls Penelope reckless and says that she's being unreasonable in her expectations of finding a husband. And basically, like, you're too old. And I know you change your clothes. I thought it was just for your own amusement, but you really thought you get a husband? Like, girl, no. And she's like, and being married is not always cracked up to be. There's beauty in not being married because men are a lot of times not really worth all the hype. It's like, again, you're saying this to your daughter who wants to be married, and you're saying this to your daughter. So, of course, she knows this how you really feel about marriage to her father. Like, who wants to hear that? The Mondridges just are the black people from the last episode who have recently come into money and come into titles. So this is their first time attending a ball. For the woman whose name I just found out, this episode's name is Alice, because I did not know this whole time. Alice is going to the Modiste for the first time ever. The Modiste is a black dressmaker, and she makes all the dresses for all the young ladies in the ton. And this is the first time that Alice has been able to go to her shop because, again, as a working class person, you're not allowed in certain places. The classes are very, very separated here. The working class is over here, the ton is over here, and like the two don't really interact that much. The reason why the Mondridges have been on the periphery of things is because Will's closest friend, one of his closest friends, Simon, he married Daphne Bridgerton from season one. So I do find it surprising that Daphne and her husband, especially her husband who's super fine, they had their season one. They were the focus. The husband has not been in any other season of Bridgerton and was not in the spinoff of Queen Charlotte. Yet and still, the Mondridges have still been in every single season. And in the book series, they're not characters in the book. So again, they were made up, and their conflicts and everything was completely made up by Shonda Rhimes for this series. And I'm not mad at it all. I love seeing the black family, just a regular, beautiful black husband and wife, their three beautiful kids, just kind of living life. So they're settling into this new home that has 27 bedrooms. And in this home, the the what is the word? The tradition, I guess, is that the man and the woman of the house sleep in separate bedrooms, which is again something they have to get used to. Like, wait a minute, what? And so all of this is as a result of Alice's great aunt who's passed away, who's inherited all her new gowns, and so she goes to the modiste to get them all fitted. And Modisa's like, you don't want to, kind of spruce it up a little bit. You're a lot younger than she was. She's like, well, no, I don't want to rock the boat too much. I want to keep tradition. By the end of the episode, she's like, no, you're right. Will basically convinces her, like, yo, this is our life now. let us rejoice in it. Let's embrace it. Let's take full advantage of the fact that we have this money, that we're on the other side. And Alice, of course, is like, I don't know. I feel weird because we didn't earn it. And he says one of the most prolific things ever. He's like, no one in this position earns it. All the barons, the earls, the dukes, all those people that we encounter, all those people were born into it. They did absolutely nothing to earn this position. So we're really no different from them. They've been working all their lives, and now they're at a place where they don't have to work anymore. So it's different, and I know we'll still see some adjustment and some compromise that they have to make along the way. But it was nice to see them kind of relax a little bit. And when they go to their first ball, Benedict stops them and he's talking to them, and he's basically explaining how things work. He said the whole idea of a ball culture in the ton, is that it's training people to be married and to find a spouse. So if you're a woman, you have your dance card, you're dancing with men, all under the guise of, okay, I'm going to impress this person with my conversation, maybe impress them with dancing so they can come visit me the next day at my home, and possibly this will be my husband. And he points out a couple different people who are going against the rules. And he was like, they're married, so they don't have to do those rules anymore. They don't have to limit it to, oh, I'm only going to dance with you one time for the night. Because if I dance with you twice, that would be improper. I don't understand. Thankfully, I wasn't born in that time area because that's just kind of weird to me. But after Benedict has a conversation with them, it makes Will feel a little more at ease. Like, okay, we can basically do whatever we want. We got money. Let's enjoy it. So that's pretty much all that happens with them. With, I don't want to go to Penelope and Colin just yet. With the Bridgertons, the mother is steadily looking for matches for Francesca, who this is her first year out. After Eloise had her first year out in season 2, which wasn't that successful, Eloise made it very clear she didn't really want a husband. She was nervous. She was uncomfortable in her own skin. She was very much about women's empowerment and why can't women go to college, and why can't women just make the decision for themselves to do what they want to do? Why do they have to be beholden to a man? She's very much on that tip. She doesn't really seem to be on it that much this season, but she also isn't eagerly and intentionally looking for a husband. And the mother felt like, okay, I interfered a lot when Eloise was out, and that didn't really do so well. So I'm gonna leave Eloise alone for now. So I'm gonna focus just on Francesca. So Francesca, again, Lady Danbury is trying to help her find a man. So Lady Danbury comes to visit them. It's like, yo, chick, I know a couple dudes who are really into music and they're all supporting the arts. I know you care about the music. That's all you care about is piano. So let me introduce you to some dudes that should probably help you out, right? So they have that conversation. And Eloise talks to Colin. She finds out that Colin is trying to help Penelope. And she's like, what the heck are you talking about? She's looking for a husband. Why? I thought we were going to be sisters forever. Which is extremely terrible of Eloise to think. First of all, scoffing at the idea that Penelope is looking for a husband. Like, well, not even like basically scoffing at the idea, like, who the heck would want to marry Penelope? Or, now, granted, the scoff either meant who would want to marry Penelope or why in the world Penelope wanted to be married. But that shows that she has not been listening all these years of being Penelope's friend. Penelope has never said out of her mouth that I do not desire a husband. Those words have never come out of her mouth. So for Eloise to assume that they were going to be Spencers together and that Penelope didn't want that life means you never listened really to what Penelope wanted. You allowed Penelope to be that friend that you leaned on, that you talked to, that you confided in, which is great, but it sounds like that friendship was pretty much one-sided. And I could be wrong. This is just one conversation, but it is kind of weird that that's your immediate reaction to learning that she wants to be married. And they say at her big age, she's spinster age, which logistically could mean she's like 22, 23. That's considered a spinster really in that day and time. Let's see what else. At the ball, the ladies surrounds Benedict and Colin to get them to dance with them. Some of the other ladies also compliment Eloise on her public speaking because they were talking about different gifts. And Eloise is definitely working the crowd. She's being honest. She's being kind of funny. She's just being her natural self. And they compliment her on public speaking. So I don't know if that means we'll see more of opportunities like that for her in the future. But I thought that was kind of cool. We see Francesca talking to a man, and again, I can't really get a bead on her. It seems awkward when she's talking to men. She only really lights up when she's talking about music for the most part. And not just music, like, oh, I like that song, but just kind of the technicality of music. She seems excited about that, but nothing else really interests her and doesn't seem like she really has anything else to talk about. So, not quite sure what that means for her just yet. With Cressida and Eloise, they're still cool. I put Eloise is on the market, but she's not actively looking, which I said already. I think she's resigned herself to being an old maid. And she's just kind of, this is my life. I'm rolling with it. And this is whatever. She confessed Colin's plan to Cressida about Colin helping Penelope. And like I said, that's seen as it's not seen as proper. And again, it's supposed to give the impression, I guess, that Penelope is desperate. Cressida does not snitch and doesn't tell anybody else, but there's a young lady nearby when Eloise says the stuff, and the young lady spreads the word around the whole ballroom because gossip spreads quickly when you don't got nothing to do but go to dances all day. So that's how it spreads. And Eloise confronts Cressida the next day, like, how could you do this? And Cressida basically told her, like, look, you were gossiping about your friend and you weren't being discreet. So you can be mad at me all you want to, but just be clear, this all happened because of you. I didn't say a word. And it was a different side of Cressida. Cressida basically told her what's what, but she wasn't nasty about it, wasn't mean. She seemed a little hurt that Eloise, assumed that she did something wrong. But she can't really be too hurt because that is something Cressida would have done, I guess, in the past, especially season 1 and season 2 Cressida. But I don't know how I feel about this friendship just yet. I'm still on the fence. I like Eloise and Penelope's friendship, but now that I'm looking at a different lens and seeing that it was kind of one sided, I don't know if I really liked it or if I was just happy to see two friends. We didn't really see any groups of friends hanging out, not girls, not really. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence about them. With Colin and Penelope, okay. Colin, what did he do? He is still having the charm lessons with Penelope, so he meets her outside. And he's like, "I need to see you in your natural environment, so go talk to those dudes over there." And Colin goes with her. And I guess when you are a girl in this time and you're trying to get a husband, what you're supposed to do is you are supposed to lean in. You're supposed to bat your eyes. All women carry fan with them, so you're supposed to gently fan yourself. And I don't, I not born in this time frame and I've never done this stuff, so I don't know how it's supposed to work. But basically when she's talking to the guys, she's kind of stumbling over her words. You can tell that she's nervous because she's giggling, she's looking down a lot. And I think the fan is supposed to be very soft and subtle and kind of sensuous and just ladylike like this. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great. It's so nice to meet you guys." And it's obviously obvious that she's very awkward with the situation. So Colin's like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "You have the charm. I've talked to you enough that I know you're charming. I know you're funny and all that stuff. You just have to get more comfortable and stop worrying about what people think about you," which is such a condescending thing to say because most men don't really care about how people view them. But as a woman, especially in this day and age, it's like, all I have are people's opinions of me for the most part. I can't just go out there and live my life and do whatever I want to do because everything I say and do is a reflection of my family. They could be shunned. We could lose money. What if I never get married? I'm a spinster. I got to live with my mom for the rest of my life. I ain't doing that. So, easy for him to say, easy for any man to say, really, in any stage of time. But that's basically what he tells her. And he's like, "Okay, when is the time that you're most comfortable?" She was like, "When I used to have tea at your house." So he invites her to the crib when like pretty much everybody's out the house. And he goes into the drawing room. He's like, "All right, pretend that this is a ball, right?" So people over there chilling, people over there dancing. I'm at the lemonade table. So talk to me as if I'm a suitor. It's like, you know me, you be comfortable with me. Just, rap at me like, you're trying to get at me. And so she basically waxes poetic about his eyes. "Your eyes are just a sparkling shade of blah, 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 blah." And they share kind of a moment where he's like, "Oh, dang, I didn't realize you were going to say that." And then they hear voices. Eloise has come back, so he scurries her way to the study to kind of hide her until Eloise goes. So she's in the study. She's, looking around like, "Oh, what's in here?" And she sees this open diary on the desk. So she starts reading, and she immediately recognizes it as Colin's travel journal. Remember, he's been traveling for the past 4 months in all these different countries. So she's like, "Oh, what's this about?" And the entry she reads is all about women in Paris and how beautiful they are. And it's kind of poetically written, I guess. But of course, she ain't supposed to be reading his private thoughts. So he bursts in the room. He's all pissed. Like, "How dare you read my stuff? That ain't for you. What the freak you doing?" He grabs the diary, goes to grab the diary. He ends up knocking something on the ground. And it's a bunch of glass. He cuts himself. And so she wraps a cloth around his hand and they share another moment. I'm going to get into detail about why that was a quote unquote moment. They do that. She leaves. They go to another ball that night. And he's like, "Okay, she's like, "I thought your writing was great. I would love to read more of it." He's like, "All right, I'll make you a deal. I may consider letting you read some more of my writing if you talk to one of the dudes that's up in here." She's like, "All right, bet." So she like talks to a couple of guys and one of them says that he's going to court her the next day, which is cool. And then in the midst of them talking, they start hearing whispers and they start hearing Penelope's name and hearing Colin's name. And that's when they found out that, "Oh, everybody knows that I basically tried to help you." or that I'm basically trying to help you. So she's upset, but at the end of the day, she's also Lady Whistledown, and Lady Whistledown writes about what happens in society. So this is a big thing that everybody's gossiping about. So even though she's Lady Whistledown, she's like, well, I can't hide that this happened. So she writes an issue as Lady Whistledown, basically exposing the secret and basically talking about herself like Penelope, was so reckless in thinking that this could work, and maybe she's just staying in the shadows. I'm sure this is going to ruin her, and basically being honest, even though she's talking about herself, she knows, okay, this is how people are going to view me, so I'm going to keep it pushing. Her mom reads it, and her mom's like all upset with her, like, how dare you, we've been through enough, blah, blah, blah. Penelope spends the whole day at the window, still just looking out the window aimlessly, like the entire day. And one thing I did like is that it shows the entire day because it shows in the morning and it shows she's there at night, and it's just a beautiful moonlight that's bathing her. So the room is in this beautiful hues of dark blue, and the name of the episode is How Bright the Moon. So I thought that was really cool. So while she's sitting there, her lady's maid comes and is like, yo, you got a visitor downstairs. She goes, and it's Colin coming at the back door, and then the maid leaves, and he's like, yeah, I bribed us, she would give us some space. Because when you're a young lady, you're not supposed to be by yourself anywhere. Like, if you go out to the store, if you just go for a walk, your maid is always supposed to be with you. Even if she doesn't walk right beside you, she's supposed to be somewhere near you, because it's improper for a young lady to be out by herself. Or they call it a chaperone, like, right? So Colin is talking to her like, look, Lady Whistledown is terrible. Don't believe anything she says. Penelope is like, no, you know what? She did her job. She wrote about what was happening. That's what kind of had to happen. That was my fault for being dumb enough to think someone would actually marry me. Like, who do I think I am? Like, that was just stupid. He's like, no, I don't think that. So she starts thinking, and she's like, you know what? I don't know what this means for my prospects. I don't know if I'll ever find a husband, but I have never been kissed. So, Colin, as my friend, will you kiss me? I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm just asking you if you would please kiss me. So he hesitates for a minute. He's just staring at her like, what are you talking about? She's like, please. She's like, I could die tomorrow, and I don't want to die having never been kissed. So he kisses her. First, it's like a little peck, and then it's a little deeper, and then she thanks him and she leaves. And so the episode ends with him just kind of breathless looking after her, right? So that's the entirety of the episode. Now let's talk about the significance of some of the things that happen. We're going to talk about the significance of touch. So the scene where they are in his study, he cuts his hand, she's wrapping the cloth around his hand, and then she kind of holds his hand like this. The significance of that is men and women in this society, unless they're dancing, unless they greet you by, kissing your hand when they first see you, they don't touch. Like, they really don't. Even, and it's interesting because even the first season, whenever they would promenade, it's basically them just walking around the yard or walking around the garden, they didn't touch each other. They would walk like this. Once they got married, now they're linking arms and they're walking, but there's no touch there. So the fact that she's touching him with that familiarity, touching his hand, and it startled both of them because again, they don't never even seen them hug each other. You've only seen them dance with each other, and that's pretty much it. So pretty interesting that, well, not interesting, just want to explain why that touching was a big deal for them. And then the significance of a kiss. So if they don't touch, good and damn well they don't kiss each other. They don't. So I will say that the men, seems like a lot of the men buy prostitutes. So they kiss the prostitutes, which seems like the last people you should be kissing. Not judging, but it just doesn't seem like maybe that's the best thing to do. But what the heck do I know? They kiss the prostitutes, but when it comes to a person that they're courting or that they like, you're not supposed to kiss them. Kissing a person ruins them if you're not already married to them. So basically, when you're kissing them, you're letting them be known, oh, I'm going to marry you. And most of the time, the kissing does not happen until after you guys have gotten married. And another thing is what women know. Wait a minute, 'cause my daughter's coming in. You saying good night? You want to say good night to them? You just look in and say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, kiss this. I love you. Good night. Okay, say good night to your brother and close my door, please. Thank you so much. But also want to talk about what women know about sex. Now, on this show, and I'm assuming in society at this time, women really know nothing. Now, in Queen Charlotte, Lady Danbury, when Queen first got married and Lady Danbury became a member of her court, Lady Danbury talked to her explicitly about sex. She like drew pictures for her, like, this is exactly how you do it. Because you have to understand, until you have consummated with your husband, you are not really the queen and you guys are not really married. And because you have, huh? No. And because you have allowed Black people now to be in society and be like respected members. You can't ruin this for us. So let me teach you what it looks like to have sex. So you can have sex with your man and you can have some heirs. So that way you're solidifying our position. Everybody didn't have Lady Danbury in their life. So most of the women do not know what sex is. They don't know where babies come from. I mean, that's a hence the conversation that the Featherington mother had with her daughter, and she was like, "Oh, we do it all the time." And she's like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, so," and somebody made a comment about insertion. The mother said, when the man inserts himself, she's like, "What do you mean insert himself?" She's like, "All we do is we kiss, and then he makes a funny noise, and then he changes his britches, which are his pants. So basically, they're dry humping, or he just splooshes in his pants from kissing, and that's it." She didn't know what sex was because her mother never told her, and it's very dangerous. I'm not the most I'm comfortable talking about sex, not having had the deep, detailed conversation with my babies. So I feel like that would be awkward, and I kind of get that. But you can't set your children up for failure. Like, you have to explain what's going on. But in this society, they do not do that. In the first season, Daphne didn't know anything about sex, nothing about babies, none of that stuff. The guy she was fake courting, Simon, he explained masturbation to her. And I would hope, as an older sister, that she would have passed down some of that knowledge to her younger siblings. I would hope that she would have done that, but she did not. And the men can go out and just have sex with whoever they want. Obviously, like I said, mainly prostitutes or working women. They can do that. Women who are in the ton, who want to have a husband, who want to be, of good standing, can't kiss, can't hold hands, you can't dance with a guy more than twice in any given ball, and you definitely cannot have sex. So it sucks. That's really how it goes. Another thing that I noticed this episode that I really enjoy about the series overall is that it's very inclusive when it comes to the kind of actors and actresses that they have on the show. I already said that they have in the ton is primarily white people, but you have Black people. I've seen Asian people. I saw for the first time a Black plus size woman who was a debutante. I was like, okay, see you, boo. In the first episode, they had a young lady, a debutante, who was hard of hearing because she and her mother were doing sign language to each other. I was like, oh. And in this episode, one of the men that Penelope talks to at a ball is in a wheelchair. Like, okay, for y'all. So it's very inclusive with the I say with the staffing, that's not the right word, but the casting, which I really greatly appreciate because we don't see that in all shows, and especially period pieces, you almost never see that. So definitely appreciate that. And let's see. I mean, that's pretty much it. I was saying I love the secret looks that the queen has with Brimsby, her right hand man. I love the fact that we got to see their relationship blossom in Queen Charlotte. Got to see how they first met, how they became so close, and I feel like we're seeing that not friendship necessarily, but seeing that relationship play out a lot more this season, which I really appreciate. And also, Queen Charlotte is a Black woman, right? And her wigs are what people talk about a lot in this show because her wigs are phenomenal, fantastic. They are really otherworldly. And so far in this season, it's only been 2 episodes, I've seen her wear this beautiful head wrap where you can see a little bit of afro poking out. She had this gorgeous head wrap on. And then this episode, she has some long synthetic twists. I was like, no, that's right. So I appreciate that. Not just the fact that she's Black in her skin, but that it's reflection in her hair and in just the way she dresses. I'm very grateful for that. This episode I thought was fine. I understand why Penelope had to out herself because again, she's Lady Whistledown. Lady Whistledown never misses an opportunity to talk about some gossip or some scandal. So I understand Penelope, having to do that. I think that I think it's interesting that again, men can kind of kiss whoever they want. So the fact that Colin had the reaction he had after kissing Penelope, when we've already seen him, because he had like a threesome early in this episode as well. I forgot to mention that we saw him kissing both of those women. So it's like not the first time you kissed in this episode, but the fact that after kissing Penelope, he was left a little breathless was like, oh, okay. So even though you're a man and you've done all these things sexually with women, you can still be impacted a little bit. And the fact that after they kissed, Penelope was the first one to turn away and she left, and Colin was the one staring after her, panting a little bit. Oh, okay, that's a little bit different. So I definitely appreciated that. I like the Mondrich family. I don't really know what's going to happen with them in the future, but I like them. I still think it's kind of weird to have them. Uh, they're- well, So I think it's kind of weird to continue to have them in the series when the connection to the series was a man who hasn't been in the series, excuse me, since season one. I do think that's weird. Excuse me, guys. I do think that's strange, but I guess I kind of like them. I don't really see the point. I think the point is to show the differences between the working class and the ton. I'm assuming that's the reason. I don't know if it's really necessary to keep them on. They don't. I don't think they add much to the series personally, even though they're black. Because they're black, of course they can. I'm so sorry, you guys. Because they're black, of course they can stay in the series. I just don't see what they really add to the show. But maybe you guys like them better than I do. I just think they're just okay. The Featheringtons are funny. I still feel like they can't really catch a break sometimes. They are really funny. I don't quite understand why the sisters are the way they are when it comes to Penelope. They seem just kind of dismissive of her. Never really seem to have a relationship with each other. And even just the two of them, I don't remember no, the names of Philippa and Prudence. Even the two of them together don't really seem like they like each other as sisters. It seems like they're always competing with each other. And I don't know if the mother is putting them up to competing or if they're just naturally like that. I haven't quite figured that out. But I do think it's a good dynamic to the Bridgertons who seem to have each other's back and really love each other. Then you have the Featheringtons right across the street who are always kind of infighting and just trying to one up each other. And it's not about love. It's just about being the quote unquote best Featherington. So I do think that's interesting. I liked this episode. I thought it was fine. I didn't even pay attention to any of the music because, again, I'm not going to know what's the song anyway. But there's something about episode 2 of season 3, part 1, that you guys found of interest. Definitely comment below. Make sure you like this video. Feel free to share the video. Feel free to skip past me coughing and skip past my daughter because those weren't intended to be part of the video in the first place. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, like, share, subscribe, comment below, and I will see you guys next time for episode 3. Peace.